Guild webinar. This one is about the Hydrant app, which has been produced for the National Association of Drainage Contractors by Edifile. And it's about the Hydrant app, and it's about security and managing third-party access to hydrants. In fact, really, it's not just hydrants, but obviously it's about managing third-party access to the potable water network. So there are implications in allowing people to access hydrants, which we'll come on to in this demonstration. But first of all, just want to talk about the NADC. You may not have heard of NADC, National Association of Drainage Contractors. It's, if you like, it's a trade association for drainage contractors, as it sort of says on the can. It's to represent the industry and provide meaningful benefits to members. And it's to set standards for the industry, both in training and health and safety. It was set up around about the time of transfer of private sewers to the water and sewage companies. Again, it was about raising the standards and the profile of the private drainage sector, which it obviously still does today. And the Hydrant app is part and parcel of that, as is the Drain Safe initiative, which was launched at Excel a few months back. You may have heard of it. It's what It's what Gas Safe does for the gas sector, and what Water Safe does for the plumbing sector. So the Hydrant app sort of ties in with these long-term objectives of the NADC. It provides obviously benefits to members, and it improves their profile, in this case as responsible users of the public water supply network. We developed this in response to members around hydrants, but it's worth noting that this does provide significant benefits to the water companies and in turn their customers. It's also worth noting that water companies are getting tighter on their policing and enforcement of hydrant use, which is to be commended. Recent fines and the costs on contractors have ranged from £4,500 to about £10,500, and then obviously the plus the reputational damage in the local media. Sorry, I should add, or should have added, if you do have questions, please put them in the chat function, and the team here, myself, will pick up those questions and give answers at the end of the session. So hopefully that's okay. Right, moving on to the second slide. Just make sure that has moved on. Somebody, Matt, can you nod your head? So why a Hydrant app? Well, the driver for the NADC was there's multiple water companies, especially in the southeast. It's like a jigsaw puzzle of water companies for people not in the sector, such as drainage contractors. The water company boundaries obviously aren't clear on the ground. Contractors need to take water for their essential operations. Will need to carry multiple standpipes and actually obviously pay multiple and different charges, but which one do they use on which hydrant? It's difficult to know, and they risk prosecution if they use the wrong standpipe on the wrong hydrant, or if they use an unlicensed standpipe, obviously. Trying to get that slide up. Sorry, there's supposed to be a build on this slide. There isn't. Doesn't seem to work. So I'll move on to this slide. So setting out the benefits for water companies. So there's a portal which water companies can access, and you'll see that demonstrated by Matt and James in a minute. But the portal allows online and real-time visibility, as I said, and reporting of all the contractors' activity on the hydrants. So for a water company, it reduces illegal use, or it starts to reduce illegal use. It obviously promotes the good hygiene practice when operating a hydrant, which then obviously has a beneficial impact on reducing any impacts on the network. So the risks of using a hydrant include low pressure, discolored water, contamination, and potentially potential rubber to cause mains bursts from pressure surges. And obviously there's a risk of customer complaints from any of those any of those issues. It also provides an online capture of metered consumption, so that improves water companies' data for their demand management activities and leakage and water use analysis. And the operators can actually provide in a drop-down box a brief overview of the asset conditions. So say if there's a broken cover or a hydrant's not working, they can actually put that in a drop-down box and give that back to the water company. And it also provides, an evidence to the regulator, in this case the DWI, of a proactive approach to managing third-party access to the water network. And obviously that's in accordance with the Drinking Water Safety Plan approach. And finally, it allows the water companies to focus their policing effort on illegal hydrant use by other contractors, and Matt can give an example of that with Southern Water. And although members obviously pay a license fee for this hydrant app, it's at no cost to water companies. And my final slide before we hand over to Matt is the benefits to member. So again, it allows, or similar to the water companies, it allows the management team, supervisors, real-time visibility of their operators and they're using the hydrant. It gives information on where, then gives a field crew information on the app where the nearest authorised hydrant is, so it saves them travel time, costs, and reduces the carbon impact of their travel. It provides real-time information on any hydrant use restrictions, e.g. if you can only use outside of the peak draw times, or it provides information if there's a temporary limitation, say if there's a burst main in the area or they're doing some other work in the area. And it, as I said before, it provides real-time capture of water extracted, so it can act as a check and balance on any invoices they get from the water company. So it allows them to report faulty or damaged hydrant or one that's not working. They can flag it up on the app. And it also allows them to capture a hydrant that's not listed on the app yet, but they think might be suitable for use. Obviously, that would have to be authorised by the water company, but the app allows a system for sending that back to the water company as a request. And we hope finally that it would promote a move to a single standpipe, especially in the sort of crowded southeast area. So with that, I'll hand over to Matt and James to show you how the actual hydrant app works in practice on site. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, it's the two main ones. I'll explain that because I've been project managing the implementation of St Charles and working very closely with James and Phil, but going through quite a lot of detail and iteration to make this work. And the major help for the users is that they can find a hydrant. So absolutely, it reduces travel, it reduces carbon footprint of driving about. But these guys are out there sometimes under significant pressure to resolve a customer issue, and they're trying to get out bits of paper, or they're trying to see where their hydrants are, particularly if they're in an unfamiliar area. So this can, this hugely helps them, because having been on both sides of the fence here, water companies and contractors, I know the challenges that both have on this, and the biggest challenge is cost to get the job done. So you will find people hoping to get the job done quickly, you can't find a hydrant, suddenly they've used a fire hydrant or the wrong one. And we need to move away from that. There's also a lot of the crews out there are trying to do their best, and they're operating under the threat of potential dismissal if someone was to be found wanting and the company ends up with a fine or what have you. So we're really trying to help them as well, to help them, give them the best opportunity to undertake a compliant service. And then, of course, from that is a huge benefit of all the data and information that can be transferred back. Now, James has done a lot of work on making this simple. We've got a lot of users already online. We have used this through coaching to try and help them improve the data entry, but the fundamental, this is the hydrant that I'm allowed to use, remains, and that's the most important thing for them. So it is done from a handheld. It is done from and brilliant with EV-File. This is an app that works on both iOS and Android, and there's not many apps I see that run on both that are sort of at the cross bracket, I suppose, of what we are. And yeah, and it works on a phone, or if you've got a tablet, you know, that sort of thing. It's really good. I love it. It's a labour of love for me. We're trying to increase its use across the country by getting water company data, and then people signed up. So the more that use this, the cost drops significantly. The cost currently is £20 a month. There's no, you don't sign on for 2 or 3 years. It's none of that. You use it for as long as you want, and then you drop it off. However, that is, we still feel expensive. The NADC is a not-for-profit. So what we're trying to do is get enough people to use this app, and then the cost, if we can get a couple of thousand on this, the cost becomes sort of almost negligible, you know, £1 or £2, that sort of thing. And that's really what the NADC have done. They've worked with EV-File, created a plethora of licenses at a certain price to try and help the smaller teams, the smaller companies who might only have 5 or 10 operatives. Then they're never going to be able to afford to implement a whole big app-based management system. So it makes it affordable for these guys. And as I say, there's no tie-in. This is trying to help companies be compliant. So, James, if you're okay to fire up your
yeah, of course. Thanks,
device, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just to introduce myself, James Connolly. I'm head of client partnerships for EV-File. EV-File is a workflow and field tool. We've primarily come from the rail sector, but we do work in water, and increasingly so as we see businesses move to a digital way of working and collecting data and connecting technologies to manage programs and projects of work. We also do asset management, and this is really where we've come from with the NADC. So without further ado, I'll show you what we've built and how the system works. I've got everything here available to show you the kind of the admin view, which is somebody administering and making sure that they can access the extractions and hydrants that are on the system, and particularly the extractions that are just for your teams. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So effectively what we do is we import data very simply into our software, do an import feature. And the way that we've done this is we've just imported, as Matt said, washout hydrant information. Now, what EV-File does is it allows you to push asset information, tasks and activities to mobile devices. And this is how we've designed this NADC hydrant app. So effectively, all the hydrant information that we have by water company stored in the system, and again, we can import as much information as the water companies can give us. We can then push that information out to mobile devices so that users can get access to hydrants information on their mobile device, and in particular, you know, where the nearest hydrant is in location to where they are. Now, the data varies by water company. Some water, you know, Thames is quite bare, but there is a lot of it. There's lots of washout hydrant information. Again, Southwest, for example, you have, I think there's a circa sort of 97 hydrants available in the Southwest system. And all the data that we store about the hydrant, again, this is all configurable and amendable through the right permissions in the software. So you can see here we've got address, you've got the water company, the type of hydrant, and then again, you can also include access instructions, basically any information you want to give to the end user about that hydrant, we can update it in here, and then this information is then visible on the mobile application. And all the information that we can push into EV-File or indeed collect on the device is geotagged. So we geo-stamp via the GPS capability of the device itself, or we can import lat long information into here. And you know, I mentioned earlier, we're talking to some water businesses at the minute about connecting into their GIS models, but for the minute, this is based on Google Maps and based on lat long. So let's work through what it feels and looks like for a user. So again, as Matt mentioned, we are just an application. It's the EV-File app, and it's available on both the Apple and Google Play stores. You can, once you get into the system and provided a login, you just open up the application and you can see this menu screen, and all the hydrant data that you can see on the left hand side here from each of these water companies is visible. here, and there are 11,508 hydrants currently available for users to access. So once I'm in here, there's a number of things I can do. If I'm on in a border area, for example, so I might have a standpipe for southern, and I don't want to go into southeast area by mistake, then the data can be quite easily sorted. If you just want to look at southern hydrants, then you can just see southern hydrants. You can see that there's 184 of them. Of course, if you just want to search through them all, you just click all, and then we can use the function up here to click the nearest one, to find the one that is nearest to my location. Now, I'm based in Leeds, and the majority of these are some way away from me, so please bear that in mind. So if I click nearest first, it says that the nearest hydrant to me is in Anglia, and it's 62 kilometers away. Now, once I select that hydrant, again, I can select, I can go back, and I don't have to select that one. You can move backwards and forwards in the menu system very, very easily to pick the hydrant that you want. But once you think, yeah, I want to go to that, that's the nearest one to me, then we have a link directly to the device's navigation app. So in my case, that's Google Maps. And then it will use the lat long, it puts it into the navigation application and gives you the quickest route there. Now, we work with a lot of drainage businesses who obviously have tankers, and they have a tanker navigation app. Again, it will just open up the navigation app on the device. So whatever the one you use, it will open up and it will direct you there, as Matt said, to sort of create, efficiencies about getting to your water source as quickly as possible. Then when the user is at the water source, I've just come back into the application itself, and then there's a number of things they can do. They can log if the hydrant is actually faulty. So again, if there's some sort of issue that means that the hydrant can't be used or water can't, you can raise very simply, click there, add a form, and collect the information about the faulty hydrant. Sorry, no. And then what you can do, if you don't want to, there's no fault and you can get access to the water, then all you need to do is log an extraction. And again, we tried to make this as simple as possible. So just the number of clicks and making this easy for use out in the field. So again, I'm going to create an extraction, and then all I then do is then collect evidence about the extraction itself. Now, the instructions that we've been working with the NADC are 3 photographs. Again, one to show the area surrounding the hydrant that can help the people, the next people that arrive there and maybe couldn't find it, and then a picture of the standpipe pre and post meter readings during the extraction. So again, let me show you how this works. So again, just let me reset that while I pull my cable out. There we go. So I can then take a picture, and I'll show you some live examples of what this actually looks like. And again, you can, the evidence, the photographs that are taken through the area file application are actually encrypted. So they're time, date, and device and lat long stamped, so they can be used as court grade evidence, which has been the case sometimes. So again, you just press the continue button and it brings you to a form. And this is the form that's collecting the information about the extraction. I can move back to the photo screen and take as many photos as I like to support the information. And again, what we tried to do is make it simple. So lots of drop-down menus. So standpipe use, 40 mil. Again, put standpipe serial number. Now this is free-form text, but in the areas that use the Aquam standpipes, there is we put a data mask over this field, which effectively means that the information has to go in the Aquam standpipe format, which is digit lower alpha case and then 6 digits. So again, we can control information that's being put into the system, and then hydrant condition, drop down menu.
Sorry, just to jump in there, James. Sorry, so that standpipe serial number can fit in with whatever masking arrangements you have. And although we know that Aquam have a great number of the water companies, there is a number that have their own standpipe hiring arrangements, so that's all manageable, isn't it, James? We can change that to suit the clients. Yeah,
you can change the mask on any of the data fields in every file, inputs or outputs, by each water area. So southern could be completely different from southwest, etc. That's flexible. Yeah. So once the data has been collected, you just press the Get My Location button. Now what this is doing is grabbing my location. So it's the device's GPS. Okay, so this again, it's just creating this digital audit trail that makes that collects the data of where the event has happened. Again, you know, our wider capabilities around construction assurance, but it's the same principles prevail. It's all about collecting information with a robust audit trail of what's happened, where and when. Now that data will then sync with the cloud, and then I've just looked to my upload queue. Now we work in an offline mode. I get that, you know, some of these hydrants are in the middle of nowhere and you might not have a signal. The app caches the information in the background securely, and then as soon as it hits a signal, Wi-Fi or 345G, then it syncs the data chronologically back into the cloud. Now I can see that I've raised Anglian extraction 4. If I just go into Anglian's extractions, I can then see that the in real time, all the information that's collected on the tablet, Anglian extraction 4, on all the data that I've collected is there in real time. All the information, it's my address in Leeds, which is grabbed from my location from the lat long. You've got the standpipe serial readings and the serial number, and of course that you've got the map location and the photograph, and obviously I'll show you a better example of this as we move on. So let me just delete that, because that's so again, just to be clear, I have super user permission, so I can delete this entry, and again we can control the permissions access for each of our clients that use the Hydrant app. We can make sure that they've got the right access rights, so that, you know, senior management can edit, delete data within the system that their company has created, extractions that their company's raised. And similarly, we can control the update access for lower end users, tablet users, so they can just input data to make sure that it's controlled and organized. So let me just have a look at I think Southeast got some good ones. So let's pick a hydrant. Let's just go straight to the extraction. So Southeast. So again, there are large volumes of extractions coming on a day-to-day basis. You can see 3,000 in here. We've got tankering valves, supply points in the Southeast. And again, you can see here information, as we talked about before, but now it's a little bit more clear. You can see all the time, the photographs, the time, date, and device stamps. You've got all this data, so all the information, all the photographs are backing up the data that's been collected. So inevitably, you know, field users will the fat finger syndrome, you know, rushing to put digits in and may get things wrong. And again, because the data's there, you can quite easily see where somebody might have made a mistake, but then you've got the photograph to back that up as well. So, and it's all just about creating that digital audit trail. And of course, the lat long is always collected, as every bit of data is collected through the tablet. Now, what I'm going to, does anybody have any questions at this point? Because I'm just going to jump into kind of reporting. So any questions on the thread? Oh,
I think I just wanted to mention as well, you're absolutely right, the fat fingers, but if I give you a sort of, you know, everyone gets worried about the guys being able to use this and use it accurately, and you hear that an awful lot. You know, a lot of these guys are on Facebook these days anyway, so it's not as if you know, an app is something new to them and data is new to them. So we probably get a failure rate on data of about 3 or 4% a week checking it. So, and it's usually, you know, they've hit a 3 instead of a 6, or, you know, a 0. As for the actual abstraction, where they are, photos, etc., that all comes through absolutely spot on. So it's just literally the odd meter read that you probably need to change, or the serial number where they've put in a 2 instead of a 1. And exactly as James says, you got the photos. As long as they're taking the photos, you can correct it very, very easily. And that's just a job that you need to do once in a while, as you would with any data entry system. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so once the data is in every file, and I'm referring to any type of data, the data that we import, so the hydrant information itself, obviously all the hydrants and the extractions are linked. So because I raised an extraction, if I just show you here, if I raise an extraction in the southeast, for example, you can see that it's connected to a hydrant. So effectively what we're doing is we're providing, I go into the extraction there, you can see it's associated with that hydrant. So what we're doing is providing access to this information to the water companies themselves. So so Southeast can log on and see all their hydrants and all the extractions that sit in their area, but similarly they can't see Southwest or Thames. And again, because of the permissions engine that sits in the background of the product, we can control access for users as well. So, if the FM Conways of this world, that FM Conway management structure can only see the extractions that FM Conway create in the application. And similarly, Sweet Tech can only see theirs. But, NADC as super users can see all the progress within the application itself. So it's about making sure not only that we push data to the right people at the right time, we collect the right data to make sure it's been done in the right way. We provide access to that data to the right people so that they can make sure the application is being used properly. And again, we do that also by, providing access to the kind of some of the reporting features that we have. Now, every file has a native Power BI front end of our reporting engine, which kind of allows us to be really flexible about how we push data back to clients, depending on the site that we create. And there's some really functional, they're not the prettiest kind of Power BI reports, but they're very functional. They tell you, for example, and this one here is taking the last meter reading from all the Aquam standpipes, and showing you them in a report that you can literally just export into Excel in seconds. And again, again, it's not my area. I'm sure Matt will jump in, but these readings have to be provided to Aquam on a monthly basis, and it's a very painstaking manual process to get this information from the standpipes that are sat in lorries, vans, and in people's houses, etc. So what's happening is this report is being used as kind of the benchmark, and then people where there's no reading, for example, they're being rung as a default. So again, it's just about organising that data. Then we have a report that gives the water.
Sorry, James. Once again, you may see Affinity Water having zeros against it. The Affinity Water standpipe doesn't have meter reads, so although it's on there, it shows you that it's reported. There will be zeros because of the way that they manage their standpipes. Okay, thank you.
No worries, thanks, Matt. Then we've created a report for the water companies themselves, and again, the report only allows them to see their water company's information. Obviously, I can pick and choose as I see fit, and all that data then gives you all the information, all the extraction data that's being collected on a daily basis. Again, making sure users are using the system, very important. So the kind of volume of users by client and activity, you can see last login dates, the last use dates. Again, the way that we set up the hierarchy of the users in the system is that, if I'm managing Matt and his team, I can only see Matt and his team. If Phil's managing me, he can see all his employees and all their employees underneath it. So we can organise the permissions, so when people log on, they're not seeing stuff that isn't relevant to them. It's just their team's information. And again, all the user status across the piece. So it's all about just making sure that the data is here so that you can get directly into the information you need straight away. And you can obviously access all the extractions information from your business, all the hydrants data from all the water companies, and then obviously the reports are reflective of your user profile. So in a nutshell, that's the Hydrant app. And again, what we're trying to do at the minute is build up more and more Hydrant information. We want as much data in the system as possible, so people have the option to pick and choose which, the optimal location for them. And similarly, more users to get more people using the application as we can start to build out the functionality.
We just had a question come in from Tony around the date and upload. There's different dates. There's a date when it uploaded, and then there's time and date stamp when it was actually undertaken. So I don't know if you want to jump back on one of those, please, James, and we can just show that date, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
One of the abstractions.
Go to from Southeast.
And it's interesting because this can be used as a performance issue, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. So once we have that, so you've got the date and time stamp on the left is the actual time it was created. So 18th of 1st, 1837, and then you can see the upload was at midday. Now that probably is, there's a potential where he was out of a area that has a signal. So therefore it holds it, as James was saying, and that's saying when it was last uploaded. Sometimes I can find that a day or 2 days late. The reason for that is the guys, although they're updating the Hydrant app, because obviously every, there's a new outcome. Sorry, James, I've lost what the word is, but every 2 weeks there's an update to improve things.
Yeah, it's just a software update to roll out new features.
So the crews then get a message to say there's an update available. The issue then comes, if these are coming through late, is that they haven't updated probably for some time the actual device's operating system. So, the updates come through, you're supposed to be on ISO 12 and they're still on ISO 9, something like that. So that's where sometimes that's really helpful, that date, because you can say the guys aren't keeping their devices up to date, and we're able to follow up on that. But other than that, you see them, they can come through immediately or 1 minute late, sort of thing, and that happens as well. So you can see all the devices are up to date. So that's why I use it as a performance challenge as well across Conways. Thank you. Sorry, did that answer your question enough? I'm sure it'll say yes or no.
Yeah, that's fine for now. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So Tony, sorry, I'm just reading your question, Tony. This is data is kind of what we've, from workflow and asset management type thing, it's all about data, and with the data's in the system, we can build through the Power BI data capability, we can build MI on it. And again, if you can collect information about pressure or the timings, etc., that information can be pushed to wherever it needs to be. So yeah, good question. Sunil, how often is the hydrant data refreshed? Whenever we get something new from the water company. Matt obviously can update and delete hydrants or remove them from the application, for example, if they're faulty and people can't, there's something damaged, you can remove them from the application. So it's actively managed by Matt and his team.
So that is a good one, because we have removed hydrants where the customer, and sorry, I didn't see these questions earlier, the only one I saw was Tony's. So we take out the data because they're there, hydrants don't move. So if you end up with a new one come online, it's generally saying, can we use this one? Companies have access to this, it is their data, they hold this, and they can change it as they see fit. And we have removed one where I think they were getting a lot of customer complaints with trucks coming in, I think a new baby in the house. So they said, look, please can we remove this one? So you can take that out. You can also take them off temporarily. So it doesn't work, remove it or flag it, but you can also remove it or say something like, please don't use this. But the point is that this can be instant. You can literally press, upload, or you can press delete. You don't need to be sending out emails to lots of people hoping that it gets out within the supply chain of all the third-party users. It's tied in with the companies. And on that, I think we've got a security question as well.
Yeah, we got one further question from Stuart. It's asking any security concerns providing hydrant location, i.e. terrorism. He understands they're readily visible on the ground. Well, as well as that, sorry, there's I'll hand over a sec, Matt. I know some of the data is actually available online on the either the companies or the I don't think Aquam, but one of the companies I know I'm aware of does have their data for the authorised hydrants, not every hydrant, but authorised hydrants for abstraction actually on a website. But we do have agreements, anyway, don't we, with the most of the companies now that around use of the data. So this is only shared with members of actually have a license for use of the app. So it's not like the data is available there to everyone. And if they have a hydrant light agreement with Aquam anyway, they get details of the hydrants that they're supposed to use. I think that's correct, isn't it, Matt? That they've always
Yes.
They're going to have that data.
Depending on water company. So you're right. So some of this data is available anyway. Some of it's come through on here. But you're right. It is difficult when there's a GIS system that people can tap into. But this one is protected. They can't download loads of hydrants, although we do know who the users are. So there would be controls in that respect to a point.
Tony's asked another one. Well, I think it's a statement, isn't it, Tony, about there are some 2.5 million hydrants and washouts in the UK network, and a jumper type or 3-bore type with very different flow characteristics. Oh, yep. I recall that from my days in the water companies.
Yeah. We've got so Thames Water, they know which ones are through bore and which aren't. So we're able to, as you'll see from James when he presented, there is comments, so you can put the type of hydrant in there, and we can change that just to say more. At the moment, we put in it's a washout hydrant, and we put in the size, or we say it's a tankering valve, or we say it's a 22 mil, etc. We can amend this system to show anything we want. And also 2.5 million, yeah, you're absolutely right. So I think we've got 167 from Thames that are waiting to go onto the system. We've got some water companies where they have looked at the 40 mil. So say these are the only ones where we want you with the 40 mil to use. So we have concentrated on that. So if you've got a 22 mil and you find one, you can fire it up so we can add it to the database if it isn't already on. But the water companies have very different GIS data sets, some very accurate, some not so. And this can help because you're going to get a load of surveyors as well saying, yeah, this is a hydrant that works, you know. But we can get 2.5 million on here. That wouldn't all be available on one app. That would be, you know, you could do the nearest 50 to where you're going. And that way it helps manage the data in a far more effective way. I don't know if you want to come on that, James, but we want every hydrant we can across the whole country in the UK on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're already talking about how we can functionally manage 2.5 million assets on an app, on a mobile application, because obviously that level of data is huge, and there's different ways we can solve that. So yeah, but it's a problem we'd love to have.
Yeah.
So the next question was from Sunil about where cases where fire hydrants have been wrongly classified as washouts, how's it handled by the app? I think that's actually happened, doesn't it? Matt, some of the crews have found the hydrant that the water company said was an authorised hydrant for tanker abstractions was actually a fire hydrant, but obviously that can be reported
it
back.
was listed as a fire hydrant. I think what happens is, and from what I've discussed with a number of water companies, is that sometimes the frame and cover wasn't available, so someone's put an FH1 on there because it was a Section 84, or the fire brigade have tended, some fire service have tended sometimes to just naturally adopt one, think, oh, that's a good one, so they need to get replated. So what we do there is when they're not sure, they'll take the photo, they'll upload it, can we check? We get straight to the water company. Is this definitely a washout? They've turned around and said, yes, it definitely is, you know, because they work, as many of you in water companies will know, you base your legal access, etc., and data from the GIS, and the GIS is the one that's showing it's a washout. So that has happened. There is also times where the washout and the fire hydrant is shared, so you are allowed to do that, and that'll be on there as well. So it's very much data managed by the water company to say, yeah, that one's okay. And when we do come across anomalies, the crews are very aware to check rather than just blindly follow this. But as yet, we haven't found any information on this app to be incorrect. It's all incorrect.
Do you want to do the next one then, Matt, about security caps? Can you see that? How does
Oh, I
your
can,
system
yeah.
work?
I guess what we can do when security caps are on is literally put on this system saying security cap fitted, so the crews know there's a security cap. So if they haven't got the cap key or however it is to take it off, then they know not to go there, rather than go there and decide to break it off and get on it anyway. So that could very much help a number of these security caps where you don't want it being used to help this system might be able to very much handle that. That could be good. That'd be a good enhancement.
Great. I think that's all the questions. Does anyone else want to put their hand up and ask a question rather than type? Nope. Okay. Kate, did you want to close the webinar with any Pipeline Industry Guild comments?
Really, just to say thanks to the three of you for hosting that session for us, and thanks to everyone for joining us as well.
Yeah.
And if we could just remind everybody to check out the Guild's events calendar on the website, as we've still got other webinars coming up on a weekly basis. And we have our first face-to-face event, which is a joint event with iGen, which is the Showcase and Lines layer on the 10th of Feb. And then on the 8th of March, we have the Guild annual dinner at the Grosvenor House, and there are still tickets available. So if you're interested, email events@pipeguild.com.
Excellent.
Thanks again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Catherine. And how if anyone wants any further information, how would they contact yourself and then you'd forward to me?
Yes, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
we can get them in touch with you.
Well, I can put, actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put my email address on here, and that might help. nadc.org.uk. So there, if anyone wants anything more, any individual demos or information to pass amongst their own organisations, then I can sort that out.
Well,
Brilliant.
Excellent.
I think that's all.
Thanks again, everyone. And
Yes.
see you
Thank
next
you all
time.
very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
thanks all. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.